Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This video I'm going to break down any Easter eggs and differences between the game and the anime for episode 8. But in this video I'm also going to give you some more of Adam and Eve's point of view on the events leading up to when Adam kidnapped 9S, along with some of the details about the soundtrack, like the composer and the songwriter. Hope you enjoy. We got a lot to talk about, so if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. As I'm sure a lot of you already know, the NieR franchise has so much lore in these last few episodes, so there's a lot to go over. So without any more delay, let's jump into it. This episode opens up with 2B and 9S at the Forest Kingdom. They're talking to the commander about how A2 escaped. She explains that A2 is an enemy and that she has destroyed countless soldiers. The commander states she is no longer an ally of Yorha, and 9S asks why did she turn her back on Yorha, and the commander tells them it's classified. She then assigns them a new mission since A2 has appeared. She wants them to investigate A2, which, let's be honest, like I said in my last video, A2 has defeated both 2E and 9S multiple times, so it's kind of like, why bother? But my theory is that the commander is just likely trying to give them this investigation to keep them distracted. Now, in the game, Commander tells them to keep their distance because she's a powerful enemy, and so then 9S and 2B decide to go ask on their own, so it's kind of interesting that they change this up a bit. The difference in the game and the anime is when they ask Pascal if he knows who A2 is, they have to go back to his village and ask him in person. They didn't want to communicate over any type of communications in case the bunker was listening, but since Pascal was with them this time, they just got to ask him in person. They're back at the resistance camp and they're asking Lily if they had heard of her and showed her a picture of A2. Lily immediately recognized attacker number 2. She asks what are their plans once they find her, and 9S explains not sure, that's up to command, but she's a target to be destroyed. Lily immediately shuts them out and says, I can't help you. She says, I don't know anything. 9S is getting ready to question her, but 2B is smart enough to put 2 and 2 together. She tells 9S it's time to go, and you can hear 9S telling 2B he wants to keep asking the other resistance members, but like I said, 2B is smart enough to know no one is going to help her. Lily is holding her gun that Rose gave her, which, by the way, that's impressive that that gun has lasted. I know it's only been 4 years, but it's impressive. And you could see from, at least what I see, is a little bit of relief and maybe some sadness in Lily's eyes. In the game, an enemy had 2B and 9S run an errand for the resistance, and 9S makes a reference to A2 being an older model, and an enemy asks them to share any information that they have on the old A2 Yorha unit, like anything at all that they have. 9S explains that they've been looking for information on her, and an enemy asks for assistance looking into A2 because she needs to be sure of something. So 9S comes up with an idea on how to look for A2 and then begins a side quest for looking for A2. They find machines destroyed by A2 at the factory. They find a data log that belongs to her, but it's been destroyed beyond repair, so they continue to investigate in the factory. They eventually find information on A2 that she was a part of the Pearl Harbor descent mission, which was the generation before 9S and 2B. When they take it back to an enemy, she explains that she knows A2 and A2 is the same model as 2B. An enemy explains the mission was a success, but all the Yorha fighters were wiped out. An enemy starts to ask if they know where she is, and 9S explains they have orders to destroy her. An enemy is shocked by that and closes up and is just, like I said, in shock. 2B gets the hint and tells 9S it's time to go. 2B explains to 9S that some things are just not easy to talk about, especially for a soldier who's been fighting for that long. For an enemy, it's been over 200 years since she went down to Earth and began fighting, and then the Pearl Harbor descent mission was only 4 years prior. 2B then tells 9S that one day he might understand as well. Now back to the episode, Devola and Popola come around the corner and they just got back from another dangerous job, and 2B asks them if they know anything about A2. The twins had never seen her, but they suggest to go see Jackass. Devola then states that it's better if they hurried, though, and they advise 2B and 9S it's not best to get too friendly with the twins, and they see other resistance members watching all 4 of them talk. Now, not to go too much into this because I'm sure we'll see more in the next season, but Devola and Popola are twin androids that were in NieR and NieR Replicant. They were in charge of monitoring the success of the Gestalt project, but they ultimately failed. Now, the thing is, none of the resistance or these current twin models actually know what failed. They just have been programmed in their minds to hate the twins, and the twins know that they deserve the treatment they're getting, which to me is like, that's harsh. It's a harsh reality to live in. It's not this specific set of twins that failed, but that's the life that they have to live. Now, 2B and 9S, they go to the Sunken City. 9S is raising the question on why A2 is fighting the machine life forms. They've had plenty of deserters in the past, but they all left because they were done fighting, but A2 keeps on fighting. He wonders why. 2B interrupts him and says that there is no need to think about that. She states, our curiosity will be our downfall. 9S agrees. Really? 9S? You agree? You're trying to butter her up. He says, like you always say, unnecessary questions will just get in the way of the mission. There is a moment where she is standing there just watching him walk away, and I'm sure she's having a brief moment to think about how many times she's had to kill him just because of his curiosity. Now in the game, at one point, she does compliment 9S for his curiosity, saying it's admirable in its own way. The anime does a pretty good job of making the layout of this area the same as the game. Granted, there's more to explore in the anime compared to the game. In the game, it's not that big of an area. They end up taking a break from looking for Jackass. 9S notices how quiet it is there, and then he asks the question, do you think this is what peace is like? 2B says, who knows? Peace is unknown to me, which, yeah, is understandable. She is the battle type unit. Either way, she's never known peace. 9S then takes off his shoes and his visor. 2B reminds him that it's prohibited to take off their visor during a mission, and he goes in the water to play in the water to mimic humans. 2B says it's an unnecessary waste of energy to play in the water, but 9S points out that we're made based off of humans, so if humans enjoy it, maybe they should too. Which has me thinking, maybe this is where kind of his opinion on machines roots from, at least, well, a little bit of it anyway. He thinks that since they are synthetic and are modeled after humans, that maybe they're just better than the machines. But it's just a thought that I had. What do you think? What are your thoughts on 9S's attitude towards machines in this anime? Finally, 2B decides to walk into the water and take off her visor as well. And it's a beautiful moment. And then what makes it a cherry on top of the cake is the background music Kaine Salvation comes on. Now, I haven't talked too much about the soundtrack. You may have noticed that the song lyrics are not English, but also not Japanese. Or for that matter, it may be hard to tell what language it's in. Well, the singer Emi Evans, and I hope I'm saying his name right, Keiichi Okaba, the composer, created Chaos language for the NieR franchise soundtrack. Chaos language invented to sound as if our modern languages had drifted away for thousands of years to finally become indistinguishable to us. For Emi, this was an opportunity to try something completely new. She says, I've always been fascinated by languages, so this is a very interesting task for me, and I welcomed the new challenge. As it was my first time creating a made-up language, I had no set system in place. So for my first attempt, I just mashed together sounds from all the languages I had experienced. Now I'm going to continue to read quotes directly from her. Kaine was asked to base on Gaelic. I really enjoyed researching this language and found that something about the vowel and R sound gave it an air of beautiful attitude. So later when I was told that Kaine's character was rather unrefined yet gorgeous, I thought the lyrics were a perfect match. Kaine is a song which seems to make fans cry the most, especially when I perform it live, but for me, this will always be an uplifting song full of tenderness and power. What I've learned about using invented languages is that as they have no meaning, they completely allow the listener's imagination to make its own emotional interpretation of the song. I feel that the potential to evoke deep and personal emotions is far greater than using lyrics with actual meaning. Singing in chaos language allows me to express myself so honestly, just using the tone of my voice, without feeling that words are limiting me or getting in the way. So maybe the catharsis which I feel as I sing also communicates to the listener in a unique and positive way. If you want to read more from this article, please check out the link in my description. She talks more about each song and one of my other favorites, Song of the Ancients. For that song, she uses German, Hungarian, Welsh, Japanese, French, and Latin, and some extra sounds Emi thought up herself. Also, I added one of my favorite chill NieR franchise mixes that Square Enix released. I play this when I need to focus on work. Also, for those of you that went to the recent concert NieR The End of Data, I am so jealous. I've been reading online more and more about it and the extra lore that Yoko Taro gave the fans. lines. He gave them more story after what happens at ending E, and they even had the voice actors come back and re-record some of the lines. I wish I would have known about this concert earlier, and I would have totally gone, but now I have to wait for the Blu-ray to come out if they ever make a Blu-ray. Now back to the episode. 2B states it's hard to move in the water, and it is a beautiful animation along with a beautiful song. And then 2B notices that there's a lunar tear, and this is the same spot where you find one in the game for Emil. And then 2B shows it to the operator. Operator asks her to put it in her hair, but it would fall out, so 2B just put it in her dress. And here's another perfect reason on having this song play with this specific moment. In NieR Replicant, the lunar tears were a reference to Kaine specifically. For Kaine, this was special because these were flowers that her grandmother gave to her. And as I just explained, the songwriter wrote this song specifically for Kaine. So it all ties in perfectly. I thought it was a nice touch. This dialogue is similar to the game. 6-0 wants to come down to Earth and see how beautiful the planet is. 9S points out that 2B acts tough, but she is a softie. 2B denies it and asks why 9S is laughing. He says he doesn't know, but for some reason it makes him smile. But emotions are strictly prohibited. They get back to searching for Jackass, and 9S suggests that they split up. 2B finds Jackass fishing and her line breaks, so she throws a grenade into the water. I guess that works. It was definitely interesting to see some robot fish in there. 2B asks why is she wearing that outfit, and Jackass explains it's a bathing suit. Humans used to wear them all the time when they went swimming. But then Jackass explains what she is doing and explains the mackerel fish is something that she was looking for because the fish is actually deadly to androids. And just like in the game, she asks 2B to eat the fish so Jackass can study the results. 2B says no matter how much Jackass begs her. 2B finally asks her about A2. Jackass explains that she's never met her, but she knows that she's a comrade of Lily's. Jackass asks, but you knew that already, didn't you? And 2B shakes her head. She asks if 2B is going to destroy her because Command says to. Then brings up the myth of the lunar tear because she happens to notice that 2B is wearing it. They say the lunar tear is able to grant wishes. 2B tells Pod to go ahead and reach out to 9S and to tell 9S that she found Jackass. But then there's a problem. Pod is unable to communicate with 9S. Then we go back to 9S and he says that he can't let it go. And then he's plotting on how he's going to go through the servers to try to find more information on A2. And then he remembers the images that 210 wanted to see, images of Earth, which is also a side quest in the game. They're talking about family and what it means to have a family. What 9S was actually doing in the anime was he used the terminal from Operator 210 to create like a hack into the monitoring system. He comes across audio of the commander speaking to the council. She's disagreeing with the council on something. 9S points out that the commander is always about the mission first, the mission is the most important thing and that always comes first. But it seems like she really values her people. He hears them talking about a plan, but he is quickly noticed by the council and the commander. For just in case he tries to write a report and activity logs so they don't get suspicious that it was him, but I'm pretty sure the commander knows it was him. Then all of a sudden a ball bounces towards 9S. He draws his weapon and notices someone with long hair walking away. He thinks it's A2 and goes to find her. 2B is asking Pod to look into why they can't communicate with 9S. Pod comes to the conclusion that it's a third party that was clever in setting up a jamming system to block communication. Jackass points out, what is the point of doing something so complex? 9S tries to contact 2B as well to let her know that he may have found A2, but he's also unable to reach 2B, and he ends up coming across a room. This room is straight up a horror scene. There are paintings and drawings everywhere of 2B and 9S, and he notices a painting of 2B and 9S in the water from a few moments ago. You can see the artwork of 2B and 9S in the city with Lily, and looking carefully at all the artwork, it looks almost like evolution is the best way that I can think of. The first drawing is a bunch of scribbles. Then it looks like the artwork is getting better and better. Another image looks like Adam with the machine. There is also a candle from Adam and Eve's table. I see a machine carrying a bucket. I think it's the same machine from the beginning of Route B, trying to give his brother oil. Then there is more artwork of Adam and Eve and plenty more of 2B and 9S. I can see a pretty watercolor painting of Pascal with 2B and 9S. 9S is as confused as anybody would be in that room. The light is flickering and I swear this is becoming a horror scene. This is looking like a Resident Evil. Pod disappears and then there is a shadow that goes into a creepy hallway and it's taunting 9S. Then all of a sudden it zooms into 9S and you see it's a figure that is definitely not A2. But Adam. In the novel version of this moment, Adam is stating the more he learns about humans, the less he understands. Humans are not connected by a network. At first glance, they seem to favor living for the self, but at the same time, they seem to lack an attachment to the self. You should read this novel. It's a great read, and you can get more of what Adam was studying with humans. At some point, he tries to study reproduction of humans, and how it was a mystery that he couldn't understand. While he is researching, he's fascinated by death. Androids and machines never really fight, quote unquote, to the death. For example, Eve could heal Adam if he got injured too badly, and as many times as needed. Androids just keep coming back with new bodies. He wonders, would she and I be able to fight to the death if she was given a reason to the fight? Now, we can automatically assume that's 2B that he's talking about. Now, this next part from the book is actually more of what happened in the last episode when Adam leaves Eve at the table and tells him to stay like a good boy. They will play together when he comes back. Eve agrees to wait for him. Adam couldn't bring Eve along to kidnap 9S because Eve would immediately revive him if anything happened to Adam. A machine malfunction that can be resolved via reboot is different from death. Adam wants to understand and wants to get to the bottom of humanity. When that happens, he'll be freed from the ghosts of my creator, is what the book states. Then it goes back to Eve trying to read, but his version of reading is just counting the number of words in the book. He looks for Adam and tells Adam he's finished reading. He connects to the network to find his brother, and he is shocked that he can't feel his brother. So now he's in a panic mode, and that's where the episode ends there. But now to give you a little more context from the novel, from Eve's side of what just happened, it explains that he stayed behind because Big Brother asked him to, but he wanted to go play with him and break the androids with Adam. He was torn because he promised to stay there, but he wanted to go where Adam was. Eve then begins counting down. It's been an hour. It's been 2 hours. He starts to wonder if something had happened. Was he having trouble beating the androids? He calms himself down, saying he'll count to 100 and then his brother will be back. Well, he got all the way up to 9,000. He finally broke his promise and left to go help Adam kill the androids. So now we'll have to wait and see what happens in the next episode. And then the episode now comes to the puppet show, and it's 2B answering questions that they got on a postcard. The first question is, if all the humans have been gone for so long, why are the buildings still there? And the next question was, and what does 2B do in her spare time? She explains that the androids are constantly repairing and maintaining the buildings based off of past data, which makes sense. On a 2E mission, they talk about how they try to avoid fighting machines inside buildings and monuments to avoid damaging them. This is in preparation for when the humans return to Earth. Her second question is, she had Pod go fishing, and he pulls out a mackerel and 2B eats it, and then we get the dialogue from ending K in the game. The episode is titled Ajiwo Kuda, and that is ending K when 2B eats a mackerel fish that was given to her by Jackass. Looking up the phrase of the title of this episode, there might be 2 meanings. I ate a mackerel or I experience a flavor. Most of the internet, when I looked it up, just comes to the conclusion, thanks, Yoko Taro. But with that said, that is the breakdown of episode 8. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and see you around.